This movie, it's about 30 years ago now, but I remember when we were doing it, it was really cool. It was when cable movies started becoming the thing. Nobody could cut you out, you didn't have a lot of censorship or anything, so they were kind of grown-up CBS studio movies. You could say more, the writing was interesting. It was a wonderful mingling of something very ordinary and something very dark, deep, and, shall we say, humanly distorted. I did it just before I did Die Hard 2. It was really unique, and it was Frank. And it was his first movie. You just had a feeling from him that he was going to be this enormously successful, competent person. He had a vision which was unique in terms of horror. It was nothing kind of, throwing blood all over the place. It was very darkly psychological. And it was just this kind of cool, evolving thing. And it was a surprise. It was a surprise. And it got, the cast was great. I thought Jennifer was great. I thought she was terrific. Well, I remember her as being very smart. I remember her as being dedicated to it, very, very concentrated, very professional, unique, and kind of mysterious. And I admired her greatly. Tim had been, a TV star for years and years, and it was kind of like grad school. I remember there was one time, I don't know, it was a tough shoot night, and we were walking around, and we had to we were outside or something, and he came over to me and he said, we're going to get extra credit for this. I said, really? He said, yeah, we don't have to finish the semester if we do this. I've been talking to people. We're getting extra credit. All right. And I told him, I'm going to hold you to that. Hoyt was kind of like from this alternate universe. And he came on the set, and he was a lovely guy. But I remember we were doing one take, and he said, he got a little flask, and he said, Bill, why don't you have a little sip of Appalachia? I said, Hoyt, I can't. You're the man. You can do it. I'm a weak wasp. I can't do it. So, all right. I'll do it for you, though. I'll do it for you.
I extracted this from the ovaries of the fish we ate. This is a toxin.
How does it work?
My character is a person who wants to enable this woman to get rid of her husband, and I have all kinds of other ideas about what happens after that. You have certain things that you reveal and certain things that you don't, and you try to be discreet as you play it.
You're trying to give me a heart attack, too.
You made it all sound so neat and simple.
Trying to keep your voice down.
Well, I think all of us had some humor to it. It's the whole thing is kind of like a balance between lightness and heaviness. You can't go and twirl the mustache in every. I always loved twirling the mustache, but I didn't have one.
Oh, you love your daddy, don't you? Yes, you do.
The world has changed a great deal. There isn't a lot of rehearsal anymore at all. The studios felt that they could get away with not having it, and put kind of the onus on the actors and the creative people to kind of come, as they said, prepared for something that you weren't quite aware of what you were going to be in. And culture changed that way about 30 years ago, and I regret that. We were all way out in Valencia or something. We had very long days, but we all did it. It was a kind of, and again, the cable movies were new. There were all these different networks trying to find their niche, and one would be classy one week, and the other would be classier the next week. You had to pay for cable independently of broadcast, so broadcast had its own rules. Cable was evolving in its way but did not have to have broadcast rules. So that is why the censorship was very different. And that was for any network, just not for USA. And I think USA was trying to figure out where it was going to be in the heap, and that's what I remember. Usually those movies, they throw out some takes that they didn't like me in or something, I'm sure. But usually, see, that was the big difference between movies for cable or broadcast. They had to be very strictly schemed. and put on the page. There was not, from the original, there was never, a scene you weren't going to see written. I just, in my experience, that never was. In features, you could do a scene and it wouldn't appear, but not in an MOW. And I don't want to say MOW with this, not in a cable movie, because essentially it had the same time frame as a broadcast MOW, so it had some of the same financial constraints. It's just the content would be very different. When it came out, I was still shooting Die Hard 2, and I was just, got some nice reviews, and I took a breath and I went, okay, that's good, and then went on. There are a lot of cinephile kids now, far more than there were like 30 years ago, because there's so many eras now of movies, and there's so many genres of movies, and there's so many, there are people doing masters at UCLA on movies of the 80s, or movies of the late 20s or something. And in 7 years it'll be 100 years of sound movies. So you have 100 years of looking at all of that. There are going to be people, as I said, who look at all these different genres, and something will, buzz them about one or the other, and they'll want to go for that, and I think that's lovely. It was fun, it was interesting, I'm grateful I did it, and the cast and everything else. Every once in a while you're hit, if not by a bus, then a lovely car.